are you scared of not making it as a professional?
No, you can't be. I I'm a firm believer that if you lack confidence, you're not going to make it. You can't.
All right, hello everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of What the Heck Do I Dance For? My guest for this week's episode is Nick Posluszny, who I had met while being in Nashville Ballet's 2022 Summer Intensive. At first glance, Nick is kind of an intimidating guy. He's 6'3", and I'm not gonna lie, that scared me. But upon meeting him, he was just a really chill, nice guy. And one of the first things we bonded over was both getting to perform in Balanchine's Western Symphony. Over the next 5 weeks, I really looked up to Nick as a person and a dancer. In the studios, he had this amazing movement quality, especially for a 6'3" guy. To witness him jump really well and both turn really well as well, it was insane to watch. During those 5 weeks, I also looked up to Nick as sort of an older brother, as we had very deep and opening conversations about life and dance. And Nick has a lot of wisdom, which is very prevalent in this week's interview. Nick is an amazing and strong dancer, but he's one of the most humble people that I've ever met. I really hope you guys enjoy this interview and have something to take away from it. I know I definitely did. All right, hello everyone. Welcome to episode 6 of What the Heck Do I Dance For? I'm your host, Joseph Dang, and today my guest is Nick Posluszny. Did I say that right? Good.
Got it.
Good.
Got it on the nose.
Good. All right. Nick, how are you doing today?
I'm good. It's been an eventful day. It's been a good day, though.
Yeah, that's good.
How's everything on your side of town? Whole life.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're here, and let's just get started. Nick, where are you from?
I'm from Indiana originally, and I danced there for about 8 years. I danced there for a little while, and then I moved to Salt Lake City, and I danced with Ballet West as a trainee for a couple of years, and then I came to Nashville as a second company member. So
Nice.
yeah.
How did you start dancing?
I started with tap. I saw this guy at a state fair, and I was like, tap is super cool. And I was like 8 years old, and I was like, this is super, like, just tap is very rhythmic, which I find interesting. So I was like, that's pretty neat. And that's kind of what got me through the door.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. And then scholarship funds, and they were like, we'll pay you to do ballet. And I was like, well, the parents thought it was a good choice too, so.
Okay, so you were taking tap lessons at the studio, and then they were like, if you take ballet, we'll give you free lessons?
Yeah,
okay.
They were like, we'll give you a scholarship if you start doing ballet.
Oh, okay. Very nice. Yeah, that's basically how it goes for most gentlemen when they start out dancing.
most guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, how do we bait them in just so we can rope them into doing classical?
Exactly. All right. Tell me about your time at Ballet West and how you got into the trainee program.
So my time at Ballet West was really, really good. I don't really have a lot of bad things to say about Ballet West. It's just sometimes things don't work out, and it was one of those things where I kind of had to move on. So I found a new place, but all my time there was really, really good. How I got into the trainee program. So it's all kind of crazy. It started with me in COVID. And I was super depressed because I'm a super outgoing person. I'm pretty loud and proud.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got really, really depressed. And my mom was like, Nick, you need to keep doing things. And I was like, no, mom, I don't want to. I was like just staying in my room. I was being a hermit crab for about a month and a half.
Mm,
And then my mom reached out to Jeff. And Jeff was like, you can come and you'll be a PTD. And if you come do the summer. So I ended up going to the summer. And I also got a pass to do art of motion because they had seen me before.
mm,
So Allison was like, "We'll let you do art of motion." So I did the 5 weeks, which was interesting. The housing situation was a little rough because we were all in hotel rooms, two people to a room,
mm.
and you're like basically you can't leave the room because it was in the middle of COVID, and everyone just had to work with what we had. And my roommate was Wade, and Wade and
Mm.
I were stuck together for 5 weeks, and eventually we got through the 5 weeks. Now we're pretty good friends. So all that happened, and during art emotion, I showed that I was a really hard worker, and throughout the entire intensive. Then eventually I got bumped up to trainee through my hard work and all of that, my partnering ability. So
Mm.
yeah.
Nice. Yeah, can you explain to me what is art in motion?
So Art of Motion is a 2 week program where I think there are only 45 students, and it's a Ballet West program
Oh, okay.
where they do like it's like a choreographic intensive, so they bring like 3 or 4 different choreographers in, or they just have um company members coming into it, and you learn a piece for 2 weeks, and then you perform it on the last Friday. But it's like a very rapid, like learn, learn, learn,
Mm,
learn, learn,
gotcha.
and that because it's like the company experience, just a little more
Hmm.
intense.
Gotcha.
So it's a good experience.
Nice. Very nice. All right, and now you've ended up in Nashville Ballet's second company.
Yes,
Uh,
I have.
Tell me, how did that go about?
So I had a originally, this is Nick being stupid and not being prepared. Don't follow Nick. Nick is not a good example. But I got a little too relaxed at Ballet West. And I was like, for sure I'll get a job. I did not. That was not what happened. For the best. All for the best.
Hmm.
But I just didn't end up getting a job and I had to move on. So I
Hmm.
only auditioned for a couple of places. Nashville was one of them. And I did a live audition, and Kate Lindsley came up to me after class and she was like, I want you to audition for the second company. So I ended up doing all of that, did got a flight into the into Nashville for like same day I had to leave. I got in, auditioned, left, and it all went really well. And I they offered me a second company. But it was a
Very
really
nice.
scary, it was a very scary audition because at the time, like I knew who Paul Vasterling was.
Hmm.
Like generally, like I had heard the name, but I had never like really put a face to the name.
Yeah.
I knew who Nick was. I had seen him. He had taught class to me before, but it was nerve-wracking because there are two guys at the front of the room with masks on and a clipboard, and I'm like, there's another girl that wasn't there and she was auditioning. It was Katrina. Katrina is now a trainee with Nashville Ballet.
Oh, okay.
Don't
Yeah.
quote me on that, but she's a trainee with Nashville Ballet. But we ended up taking class, and Nick and Paul were sitting at the front of the room with a clipboard, which doesn't usually happen. Usually it's Nick teaching class, and then you go from there. But it was kind of a weird experience because I was like, so it was stressful, but it was good.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Did they have you take like the trainee NB2 class or like company class?
yeah. They ended up having me take a training NB2
Oh,
class.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
So did you leave Ballet West because the training program is like 2 years there, right? You can't do more
yeah.
than
It's a
that.
two. It's
Gotcha.
a
Okay.
two-year program, but you could like sometimes they give out third years, sometimes they don't. Um, but it was just one of those situations where I was like, I don't see a point in asking
Yeah.
for a third year. I think it's a good time for me to move on. I had
Hmm.
end up asking some people about it, and they were like, probably not the best move. I would just say move on, start adding to your career profile, just start becoming a more professional individual, which I think was a smart move.
Yeah. Okay. And how has your time for the past 7 months as NB2 been?
It's been really, really good, actually. I've gotten a lot of opportunities. I've been used a lot because, being 6'3" is not something you come by often. So, tall dude who does dance, they were with it. So it was kind of a good opportunity where I've been able to kind of explore what's going on here and just like see what opportunities I get here. And I've been used a lot for partnering. They've used me a lot in like different school things. So I got to perform lots of the flowers in the fall, and I'm in a lot of pieces for the Youth Artist Showcase, which is another thing we're doing. I've gotten to understudy a bunch of things. I had to go in for a piece that Nick Mulliken choreographed. I didn't have to, but I went in for Cinderella, but I was cast in that. I got cast in Cinderella as like a court couple.
Mm.
Then I got a couple of different things for Nutcracker, and I've been really, really busy this year. So it's been a good year.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Um, and how many of you are in the second company at Nashville?
There are only four guys right now.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
there are, I don't know how many girls there are. I think there are six, six to like eight,
Gotcha.
I think, because we had two girls get moved up middle of the year
Mm.
to the second company from the trainee program. So yeah, I think it's like eight or six.
Okay,
And
gotcha.
then the second company members take class with the trainees. That's why I get confused in my head a lot.
Yeah, that's
I'm
fair.
like, people, yeah.
Yeah, and how do you like working with Nick Mulliken?
It's it's interesting. It's a different process for
Really?
sure. Yeah. Um it's just like it's one of those things where he likes to figure everything out like a section at a time, but
Mm.
it's not like sequential. So he likes doing like starting with the middle section, and then you go to the like one day you'll start in the middle section, one day you'll move to the finale, and then another day you'll move to the beginning, but then you go back to the finale. It's just very like you have to kind of understand which part you're working on,
Mm,
and
gotcha.
it just changes. So you just kind of have to be like mentally ready to just kind of switch with how things go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Um, yeah, and then how often do you work with the company, and do you like working with the company?
I've been very fortunate to have been able to work with the company a lot this
Yeah.
year. I've been kind of like I've been understudying a lot of things. I haven't really been like, well, I guess I've been put in quite a bit of things too. It's just one of those things where it's like I'm not necessarily like considered like in the company, but
Right.
like I'm I'm a pretty good backup currently.
Hmm.
Like I'm a like all the guys in second company have been seen as like pretty good backups to come in and fill spots if need be. If there are injuries, if something happens, we've been pretty diligent in getting in there and taking over in terms of coming into spots. So yeah, and I love working with the company. Everyone in the company is super nice and just all genuine people. So
Oh, that's good.
it's a
That's
good
really good.
place. Yeah.
And then in the second company, do you guys put together rep that you perform like at the end of the year or?
Yeah, that's the Youth Artist Showcase. So
Oh,
we
okay.
have, I think we have 6 pieces this year. And so far we've learned 4, I think. We've learned Annalise's piece, Travis's piece, Maria's piece, and Molly's piece. So yeah, we've learned 4 so far. And
Okay.
they range like dramatically. They're just all very, very, very different.
Mm.
Yeah. Some of them are like ballet contemporary-ish. Some of them are just straight up contemporary. Some of them are more modern contemporary.
Mm.
And then Molly's piece is just like really musical theater-ish. It's like, I guess not musical theater-ish. It's like, it's very story. Like there's a story behind it, which makes it really cool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And then do you know if you guys are going to be putting together like an excerpt from a certain ballet or?
No, but
Oh, huh.
the school is putting on Sleeping Beauty. That's the one. They're putting on Sleeping Beauty.
Oh,
So
okay.
I think they're gonna take some of the second company guys to do like Prince Desiree for that.
Hmm.
But things have yet to be said. So kind
Gotcha.
of where we're at.
All right.
We're kind of floating in the air on that one.
Mm. All right. Nick, are you a turner or a jumper?
Yes, I do love doing both.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah.
I can, I love turning, but also like I think jumping tricks are cooler than turning tricks because like you can do more in the air.
Yeah.
Turning, I can do 8 pirouettes. I can do 6 pirouettes pretty consistently. 8 on a good day, 6 if I'm like 5 if I'm like so it's just one of those moments where it's like jumping, there's so much more you can do. Turning is all on the ground, and there are only so many turns. Like, there are only so many ways you can put your leg turning, kind of a deal. But
Mm.
when you jump, it's like, it's limitless, kind of a deal. Because you could do something different on a takeoff, which makes you jump higher or even
Right.
like longer. And then you could do some crazy stuff close to the ground like this, or like you could just jump as high up as you want and then do like 2 passes. So for me, I prefer jumping because I think there's more to it than turning.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. Okay. Yeah. When I first met you, for Nashville Summer, and I watched you in class. Like I've seen videos of guys taller than 6 foot turning, but I've never witnessed a man taller than 6 foot actually turned well, like in person. Like,
The behemoths.
how, as a 6'3" dude, did you find your way around turns? Because I know it's harder for people with longer limbs and height to figure that
Yeah,
out.
yeah. It was one of those things I figured out when I was younger.
Mm.
So when I wasn't big. So I figured it out when I was like 5'6", and I kind of got a grasp, and I had to readjust every single time I grew.
Yeah, I
But
bet.
yeah, so it's super weird. It's a wacky feeling because I would be able to do like at that time I wasn't like turning, I was just spinning basically.
Mm.
But I had that like flipping feeling, and I have a pretty prevalent spot.
Hmm.
So like I'm able to just whoop. And when I was younger, I was able to figure out the mechanics of it for how I need to do like a lot of rotations, and how that affected me as I was growing became more important to me once I started hitting those big growth spurts,
Hmm.
and all my limbs just felt like gangly, and I just needed to like learn as I went. But it was one of those moments where like I understood the basics, and I just had to learn like what things would work, like how those basics worked as I continued to grow.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. Physics is a big part of it. It's not fun. It's not a fun
Yeah.
time.
No, not really. But yeah, that was easily one of the first things that impressed me about you, just watching you in class. Like, this man,
Big guy does turns.
you turn well and you jump well. So
Thank you. I
yeah,
appreciate that.
no, of course. All right. Do you have a favorite dancer that you look up to?
Favorite dancer? I see. I'm gonna be one of those like it's like I like two that kind of pushed me when I was young in like mentally. And it's kind of like the LeBron Michael Jordan debate where you have Carlos Acosta and Mikhail Baryshnikov.
Mm,
And in my opinion, it's the LeBron Michael Jordan debate because you have a guy who revolutionized tricks
hmm.
and like turning in like what was it, like 1990s, early 2000s, I think,
Yeah.
with Carlos Acosta, who's if you go back and you watch his like Action and you just see him turn, it's great. It's
Yeah,
nuts.
it is.
And it's just like it's so good for at a time where people were still like, having issues with certain things, and it's like it just wasn't the same as it is today. And like the jumps he was doing were like clean, and they were crazy, like wacky. They were just crazy for the time.
Hmm.
And then you have Mikhail Baryshnikov, who is commonly seen as one of the greatest of all times, especially for the time period with like Rudolf Nureyev, who I'm not personally a big fan of Rudolf Nureyev. I think he's very flashy, which is impressive. But I think Mikhail Baryshnikov, like he has that ability to like jump high, and he has ballon, which is
Hmm.
just like floating. He can just
Right.
jump and float, which makes it so much more impressive.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So it's just one of those things that when I was younger, like I found both very, very incredible dancers, and I looked up to both of them.
Oh, Very nice.
Yeah.
All right. Name a favorite piece of rep you've done, and you can divide this into classical and non-classical, or however you want.
Um, for classical, definitely Western Symphony because all of my friends and I got to be cowboys, and it's just like one of those you never get that experience back. It's
Yeah.
like if especially if you've got a bunch of friends that are like dancing with you and like you're all really good friends, it's just like
Mm.
a different kind of relationship.
Oh yeah.
Especially because like first movement lobster with a bunch of your friends is an experience to be had where you're all a bunch of goofballs being a little turds to the person at the front of the room and you're just like so the lobster is basically just one dude right
Mhm.
like right up in front of each other holding hands and you gotta just bounce and just it's a very odd situation but you can say a bunch of goofy things that the audience can't hear
Right.
to your friends in it and it's a good time though being a cowboy is a good time. And then for contemporary, huh, have I done anything? I think one of the pieces I'm doing right now is really cool for contemporary just because like being at Ballet West, you don't really get a lot of contemporary opportunities.
Mm.
Um, company or not, they've started doing more contemporary rep, but like even when I was there, like last year, 2 years ago, it was pretty dull in terms of contemporary work.
Gotcha.
So I think the one by Maria Conrad I'm doing right now and the one that I'm doing with Travis Bradley, both kind of tie right now with my most favorite.
Mm.
So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm still just exploring contemporary, in all
Yeah.
honesty.
No, that's fair. I feel like
Yeah,
in this in between like academy and professional life, where we're still getting exposed to contemporary and still
yeah,
not getting a lot of it.
yeah. It's a different experience than like because companies they do contemporary, but they never include like the middle ground people because they're like,
Right.
well, that's because you don't have the movement quality yet. And then they like next year an apprentice, and you're like doing all of the contemporary things, and you're
Yeah.
like, where did that magical movement quality come from? Like, it's
Yeah.
just one of those awkward moments where it's like the academy has some sort of contemporary modern movement that they're doing and then the company has their contemporary
Right.
and you're just kind
Right.
of stuck in the middle of like limbo where it's like where do I find it?
Hmm.
So that's kind of the game I've been playing for a little bit. But at Nashville, contemporary is like a really big part of the
Right.
program
Hmm.
along with classical training. So I've been getting quite a bit of that.
Yeah, that's good. And I
Yeah.
mean, I'm personally not the biggest fan of like contemporary or modern, but like in this industry in today's standards, you need it in your
Yeah, for
in your
sure.
repertoire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I'm that it's also a super big like bonus coming here to Nashville because it's like it's a it's a big thing now where contemporaries deemed like important movement and
Hmm.
you have to have that kind of as a resume background and it's like Nashville is kind of seen as like the good gray area of you're doing both so neither is lacking which I really appreciate.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, also going back to Western Symphony, um, I've interviewed how many people? that said Western is their favorite.
It's just
Only
so fun.
only two. That menu, but I mean, I don't think I've ever met anyone who says they didn't enjoy Western.
It's just such a good
It
time.
is.
It's so fun. Because I got to do the Principal Man in Divertimento number 15, and that one, it's hard. Like, it was a really, really good experience kind of a
Hmm.
thing. And I've had like a bunch of other things where I've done where it's like, it's been really, really good for experience. But Western's just, it's a blast. It is so much fun. The audience is having a good time. You're having a good time. It's just like everyone's feeding off of energy. So it's just a
Right.
good time in general.
Yeah.
It's a really
I
good time.
think the only people I've talked to who said they didn't enjoy as much were the ones who were the horse girls in second movement.
Yeah, second movement, they kind of get hosed a little bit
A
because
little bit.
it's such a slow movement. If you're not the principal couple in that, it's a little draggy for you. Plus, they have all of, like the bourrées sections that they
Mm,
have to do,
yeah.
and especially for the guy in that section, you're just walking. I don't even think they don't wear ballet shoes.
No.
I think they wear boots because I fourth movement guy wears ballet shoes for sure. Dancing whole nines. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And then I think even first movement guy wears like jazz shoes. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
ballet
jazz
shoes
shoes.
or jazz
Hmm.
shoes. Yeah. So like the first and second movement guys are wearing jazz shoes because that's like the standard Western symphony.
Hmm.
And then I couldn't tell you about third movement because once every 65 years a company randomly gets the rights to third movement.
No.
And then for second movement, the dude's in boots. And because it's just a guy like telling a story, like it's just story time. At least that's the way it was with like Ballet West. So it's kind
Mm.
of it's interesting. It's a weird one. I feel bad for those girls.
Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked a little with Western, but did Michelle Gifford set it on you guys?
Michelle Gifford said it on us.
Hmm.
Bless her soul. I love her so much.
Is she kind of like the resident Balanchine stager for you guys, or
Yeah,
at
she
Ballet
was
West?
for Ballet West. Yeah,
Gotcha.
she's the the balancing person
Hmm.
that would go and be like, can Ballet West get the rights? And usually it's the Academy, but I think
Right.
I don't know. I heard some news. I don't want to misinform anyone on anything, so I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to leave it as is.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. And have you ever had like a favorite moment on stage or in rehearsal?
On stage or in rehearsal? Yeah, I think Divertimento number 15, back to that one of because Ballet West was my first big school. Because
Hmm.
Indiana's got rinky dink schools kind of a deal. Like you're not doing a lot. So Divertimento number 15 was special because I got to be a principal and just sharing the stage with everyone I got to do it with was like for me a big deal, and it was a nice send off kind of a deal where I was
Yeah.
able to be like, I've come a long way, I've progressed, I'm a better dancer than I was walking in, and it was just kind of a good moment of I'm happy with what I've done, and it was a good closer for sure.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a most embarrassing dance story?
Do I? Embarrassing. Embar- I'm trying to like. I haven't. I've never like fallen. Knock on wood. I would say probably when I had to perform with the company in Nick Mulligan's piece, there were a couple of times where I just like stared at the audience because I was like, I just forgot, I blanked, and then but it's okay. It's okay. It happens, especially because it was like my second month, third month with Nashville Ballet, and
Ah.
all of a sudden I'm performing with the company kind of a deal, and it was just very quick. And the news about Nick Mulkin becoming the new artistic
Mm,
director just came
yeah.
out, so I was extra stressed. So I was just like really nervous. I was performing with company members. Just a lot of like nerves, and it just got to me a little bit.
Yeah,
So
that's fair.
yeah, I would say that's probably my most embarrassing point
Mm.
was like just like and then just like continue moving. Like I just had to throw my body in a direction and just be like, "We're going this way. We're going this way."
All right. If you had to choose between like a pa/duet group dance or a solo, which would you gravitate more towards?
Not even a question. I'm doing a pop.
Yeah.
Not even a question. And it's crazy because I was talking about this the other day, and like I kind of regretted what I said because I I said like I'm just being used as a forklift, but I think I find the mechanics of partnering really, really interesting. And I've always been one of those guys who's like, partnering is super fun,
Hmm.
especially the way I was raised. And I was told at a very young age, and I was taught how to partner properly, which kind of deceived some people. And they're like, "You're super talented with partnering," and I'm like, I just worked hard from a young age. It's not like it came naturally.
Hmm.
And I had a 6'5" dude who looked like a linebacker as my teacher, and he came from Ballet West, but he like started becoming like super bulky and like strong and stuff. But he really knew how to partner, and
Mm.
he taught me at a young age. He didn't teach me like I was 14, 13, and he taught me like I was a 22-year-old trying to like get the grasp of something. So he didn't like try to baby anything down for me. He was like, right now you might not have the muscle for it, but eventually you'll have to, and eventually you'll get there. But I need you to understand these things as a young man where you can build up to that
Hmm.
and be correct through all of these spaces. And the mechanics of partnering are super interesting just because they've been ingrained with me for so long. And it's a big part of my life being 6'3", and I love it so much. And like the ability to have a partnership between you and someone else is super special, and
Hmm.
having a bond like that, just to being like, you're an awesome person. I've never really talked to you before in this kind of a way, and I'm just happy to know you because you kind of have to, you got to love your partner no matter what, even if
Right.
it's like a I hate you kind of a deal. You have to build a relationship like, I love you as a person. We're going to get through this. It's going to be great no matter
Mm.
what.
Yeah.
And you just build it's like you build a relationship with those kinds with different people unless you've, you know, had past relationships with them and things haven't gone right. And then in which case you're just like, you know what, probably that's unironically my most embarrassing thing was I broke up with the girl because I'm a little turd because I broke up with a girl and then we ended up having to do Arabian
Uh,
for a guesting the next month. So it was interesting. That one's don't recommend it.
mm,
Not a smart idea. But building bonds with people is super super cool to me. So
yeah, yeah. And the whole communication aspect is one of the most important things about partnering. You have to communicate.
yes, if you're silent, you just
Yeah,
that one's painful. I try to tell everyone like talk to me,
right.
work with me.
Yeah.
We're here. Yeah.
um. Yeah. So do you have like a favorite paw rep that you've done, or any rep that involves really hard or fun paw work?
Um, my favorite paw that I've ever done. I for ADC IBC, I was supposed to do two paws. I was supposed to do Capellia wedding paw.
Yeah.
It wasn't the girl. It's just like at the time, especially me too. I was just like Capellia.
Right.
What's the story?
Exactly.
You know, kind of boo boo. I was really big into tricks and stuff. So I was like, technique. What is that? Because I was still in Indiana. So they were like, we want you to lift girls and jump and turn. That's your three goals. Don't worry about anything else. Pointing your feet, don't need it. Bending your knees properly, don't need it. Straighten your knees properly, don't need it. Just jump, turn, partner. So I got to do Posluszny. Now that one, so fun. Such a great time. I did Posluszny. Didn't end up getting to perform it because of COVID, but Posluszny was my favorite one to like work on.
Mhm.
And with my partner, she was super nice. Yeah, Posluszny has got to be it. It was a really good time.
Nice. All right. Okay. We're gonna move on to what does a daily schedule as a Nashville Ballet 2 look like for you?
Ooh, it changes
Yeah.
always. Um, right now, consistently, pretty much no matter what, as a guy, I'm dancing from 9 to 4:30 at least. Um, sometimes I end up having to go into company rehearsals, where I go from 9 to 6, and then I work a job outside, so usually go from like 9 to 10. So usually I have 13-hour days, which is kind of rough, but you know,
Dang.
we all have to have a side hustle kind of a deal. We
Yeah.
all gotta work a little bit, and it's one of those things where I'm like, I want dance to be one of those things that I can just support myself. But for right
Mhm.
now, I gotta work hard, and I keep having to work hard, but I'm fully willing to do it.
Yeah. No, I'm so glad you mentioned that. I keep forgetting. I need to ask my future guests like if they have a side hustle, because that's one
Yeah,
of like that's something people need to be aware about if they want to go into this profession. Is you might need to have a side job after you've done
yeah,
8 hours of dancing, which
yeah.
is
I work at Trader Joe's, which is like God tier job. Highly recommend if you've got a Trader Joe's in the area. Get paid 10 extra on Sundays.
oh,
Big
nice.
win. 10 extra an hour. I'm making 20. Yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff.
Dang.
Recommend Trader Joe's. Shout out to Trader Joe's. We love a Trader Joe's moment. Highly recommend. Good stuff.
Yeah, and how do you how do you balance that? How do you mentally go from dance to work, or do you just muscle through
I don't. I
it?
don't.
Yeah,
I just
that's
go
fair.
for it. I've broken a couple of times, like mentally, and I've had sit down talks with like Nick and the interim director for Nashville Ballet too, Travis, about those things. And
Hmm.
I've been trying recently to figure out what's the best way to deal with that. So it's a super interesting journey, and I think every dancer should go about it and learning like what are the best ways to deal with energy conservation and the best ways to deal with like mental health. Those are two very big deals.
Hmm.
And I think that like therapy's not meant for everyone. Maybe sometimes researching, because like especially for me, I'm not at a point mentally where I'm comfortable with that just because I've never been like a big person in that. And I just like it's one of those things where I'm like, I would rather spend time by myself to figure out myself and understand what I'm going through before I can share it with someone. So, yeah,
Yeah,
balancing act, not so good for me, but I'm working on it and I'm seeing how other people did it so I can improve.
yeah, nice.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, speaking of mental health and all that, we're gonna move on to the deeper questions. Okay. In your opinion, what are the most important qualities a dancer needs to progress in their training or career?
Discipline. You need a lot of discipline. You need, yeah, just straight up maturity and discipline. I've I've seen many people fall to maturity issues and like not mentally being ready,
Hmm.
and um just some people just don't pan out when it comes to discipline and like understanding when too much is too much and when not enough's not enough, and just trying to figure that out. So being disciplined in maybe not going to the gym every day because you're also partnering 5 days a week because you have choreography that you need to do. Like, don't go to the
Hmm.
gym. Take some time off. You're going to
Yeah.
break yourself. Or, skipping class is probably not a good idea. Skipping rehearsals, especially not a good
Right.
idea.
Yeah.
You know? And I think discipline and maturity are the two biggest things to success in dance.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
sure. Um, how do you take corrections and criticism?
I do. It's so weird. Because, like, I look like I'm mad all the time when I'm dancing, at least in class. On stage, whole different thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a performance. I'm acting. I'm eating everything up. I gotta just be like, yeah, yeah, or
Yeah.
But in class, it's like I'm very like focused. So especially if I'm wearing a mask, all you see is just like,
Yeah.
and it's just me shaking my head. So I just look upset. I just look mad. So I take corrections and I like apply them, but I also like simultaneously hope the teacher isn't like, why do you hate me?
Right. Yeah.
It's a gamble. I try not to look mad, but I'm gonna be real. I look pretty upset most of the time.
No, I get that. I do too.
But I apply them. I apply
Yeah.
corrections pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Good
Nice.
stuff.
Would you consider yourself competitive in dance?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
In what
Not like
sense?
not like toxic,
Right.
but I've always had people around me that are like better than me, and I can understand that. And I appreciate it. Like, you can't get mad. You can't sit there and be like, they're better than me. What am I gonna do now? I can't
Right.
do anything because they're better than me. That's where
Hmm.
you have to kind of thrive in your own environment and be like, how can I better myself from someone like this? And at every point in my life, I've had that. And it's like, I try to become friends with people like that. And usually they're nice people. Because I want it to be understood that my competitive nature isn't going to be like a this is because I hate you and I'm coming for you kind of a thing. It's
Right.
like a me trying to say like I appreciate you and I think you're
Yeah.
super talented and I want you to understand that I want to become as good as you and I want to be able to grow with you and eventually try to get to the point where you're at. Because I've
Hmm.
had friends who have been good enough to go to Royal or good enough to go to San Francisco or places like Paris Opera. And I just like, I look at them and I'm like, how can I keep up? And how can I better myself to get to their level? Because I'm probably never going to pass them, but I can find different ways of making myself an asset and at the same time improving myself where I can like see how they do things and dance and appreciate them and dance to become as good as them kind of a deal.
Yeah.
And I always love doing a bit of back and forth with like turning competitions, jumping competitions, whole nines.
Yeah. Those are always fun.
Yeah, those are always a
Um,
good time. Yeah.
oh yeah, for sure. How much do you still enjoy dancing, and how much does it feel like work for you?
If see the one thing about dance is if you don't love it, there's no point in continuing. And it's like I always joke about like the pamphlet at the beginning of your career where it's like I never got the pamphlet where I would have back issues and knee issues. They only
Right,
showed me
yeah.
the good parts.
Hmm.
So like I wouldn't do dance if I didn't like it. And it's one of those things where it's like it doesn't really feel like work in the sense that it's like draggy, but I love dance and I think it's super fun and interesting. So yeah.
Nice. And what moment in life made you realize that you wanted to do this as a career?
I just didn't want to do school.
Yeah.
Like I like sat in school and I was like looking at all the classes and I was like none of this is interesting. Except for cars. I got really really good with cars. Beats me. I was the only sophomore in my advanced automotives class and I had a couple of like stoner senior partners in my first year of that mechanics class where they didn't help me with a project at all, which was like freshmen trying to impress seniors kind of a thing. And I was like, you guys can do whatever you want. And then eventually it just got bad. But I ended up deconstructing and putting together an entire car engine by myself.
Dang.
And then I helped rebuild a 1972 Trans Am. So it was a good time. I got really into cars, but That was the only thing in school that I was like, this is pretty cool. I like puzzles. Big kid
Nice.
Legos. Good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah. I think that still resonates with you. When I met you in Nashville, you had this awesome Volkswagen car with
Oh, we don't talk about the brakes on my car. We Ooh,
Yeah,
yeah.
we can move past that.
Hey, we're all still here. That's the important part.
Exactly.
We
Yeah.
none of us died to my car's brakes, and that's important. No one got injured. We're all safe. We're all good.
Yes. Okay, moving on. Are you? That was a good 2 weeks with those breaks.
It was those brakes were something. They were interesting for sure. They were a crunchy old time.
All right. Now be real with me. Are you scared of not making it as a professional?
No, you can't be. I I'm a firm believer that if you lack confidence, you're not going to make it. You can't. Like, it's not ego, it's
Hmm.
confidence, which I mean, I guess by nature dips into ego a little bit. But, like, in order to become a professional dancer, a lot of the times it's not going to be like a pure talent thing. Not a lot of people are born like that. So you kind of have to walk in with the mentality of like, I own this moment and I own this place in my own way. And how am I going to shape it where I'm going to become a professional? Like, how am I going to be that guy? So it's kind of a mentality of, I'm going to make it. How am I going to make it?
Yeah.
That kind of a mindset.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good uh perspective on it. You're the first person who has straight up said, "No, I'm not afraid that I won't make it." And
Well, and it's the thing. You just like if you're even hesitant, it's like artistic directors are just going to look at that and be like, they seem a little bit off. Like they just seem a little scared. Like, why would I hire someone who's not going to be willing to just throw themselves at something? Because an artistic director's not going to look at you and be like, let's take a week and look at this one thing. They're gonna they're gonna look at someone who's gonna be able to do that one thing that would take someone a week. And whether or not they fail at it, it doesn't matter. They threw themselves at the object. Like they just threw themselves at whatever they said. So being afraid is just it's it's lacking the courage to take a step forward, which is something you can't have. You can't be afraid.
yeah,
You have to just go and take it. Got to be a little selfish. You got to take those opportunities.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very well said. Um, okay. Has there been ever one event or moment in your lifetime that still resonates or motivates you in your dance life right now?
Last year, it's just like looking at where I start in terms of like a new year and just me being like, I want to be better. It's just a mental improvement of like, how can I improve from this day to the next? And how can I
Mhm.
become a better dancer from that? Because some days you're going to have a bad day, but you also have to just look at it like, I can't do anything about it. It's been a bad day. So what? Move forward.
Yeah.
Just I just love seeing improvement. Plus, I'm like the type of guy to like look at a video for an hour and a half in slow mo because I think it's cool and I want to learn how to do it. kind of a thing. So it's just like a how do I improve from how I did something kind of a thing.
Oh, nice. Okay. Do you have regrets is a strong word, but do you have any regrets or what ifs looking back on your dance life?
I guess it's not what ifs, and it's kind of like like a sad moment for me because I think I could have been a better dancer if I had, but just like getting out of Indiana, leaving. The Midwest is the worst place to try and start something, unless it's like Joffrey, I guess. But even then, like big name schools will take you at a young age as like if you're just like there to be like I want to take class with these people, except if it's like SAB, I guess, because they're just, they're looking for the SAB picture. But like, if you go to like big name schools at a young age, usually they'll say like, yeah, sure, why not?
Hmm.
Whether or not you get a scholarship, whole other thing. But if you go to a big name place and if you have to pay kind of a deal and if you have if you have the ability to pay for those things, it's a good thing, and it's one of those things where you just kind of you got to push forward onto those bigger schools where they've trained better dancers. Like you can't like SFB, Ballet West, ABT would probably be a good one. Just like some of those bigger schools, even some of their like satellite schools that aren't the main location, where they have those trained teachers and you just have to be like, let's go for it, you know?
Hmm.
So kind of just getting out of the Midwest, kind of one of my big regrets.
Gotcha. All right, last question. If you could give your younger self or any young dancers advice, whether in dance or in life, what would it be?
Like tips. For guys, it's more prevalent, but especially in this age of like developing how men are seen in dance, it's still important to understand masculinity, in my opinion,
Hmm.
because I mean, I'm all for the developing and the showing of, how different people represent themselves. And I think that is so important to everyone.
Yeah.
But I think it's also very important as kind of men that we show at least masculinity through our art form as that becomes less pushed as an idea and like everyone understands their own ways to dance and that's fine, but I feel like masculinity's not necessarily being lost, but it's kind of being something that's pushed to the side as a thought.
Hmm.
And I think like it'll become more important as an understanding because Jeff Rogers is a gay man who grew up in the time when you had to, like, no matter what, you had to dance like a masculine guy. And he's one of the most masculine dancers I've seen. And it's just one of those things where it's like finding masculinity through like everything it's an important thing where we can all just sculpt ourselves in a way to become a prince and
Hmm.
like characters like that where in contemporary it's a lot more free form
Right.
and I love it, like it's great, it's a different way for me to show myself. But understanding the difference between classical and contemporary is really important right now to me. So just like really defining that line. Make sure you
Yeah.
understand the line between the two.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah. Trying not to like offend anyone, because I understand both sides are very important.
Oh yeah.
And I just think in my opinion, masculinity for me has been a big part of my life and how I've developed as a dancer. And I've gotten the compliment a bunch of times with like, you have like the prince look down. Now it's how do we develop that other side, which I feel like isn't very well said anymore. Like the prince side of things. So it's understanding how more people can get that, like the presence of like, I'm here and I'm kind of a deal. Like I'm here and I'm the man, or I'm the person. I'm here to represent myself. This is me.
Yeah.
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 Trying to watch my words. Trying to watch my words.
Yeah. Okay. Also, you can keep this under wraps. You don't have to tell the audience, but do you know what your plans are for next season, or do you have any intentions for next season?
Ooh. I like it here in Nashville. Nashville's a good place. I've gotten a lot of opportunities. We haven't had our meetings yet in terms of who's getting second years as second company members, who's getting moved up, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
I'm also super open to looking for new places. I'm doing the job fair this year, so I don't know where that'll lead me. But yeah, I'm currently just kind of going with which way the wind blows, seeing where opportunities take me. That's
very nice.
That's the life.
Yeah, well, like I said in Elijah's video, I met Elijah and Nick this past summer in Nashville, and I don't remember anything from those classes. I just remember how much of a good time I had with you guys.
I was about to say, the classes weren't the important part. We were all having a good time.
I've never formed a bond with either of you guys, Sam included, as good as I had this summer.
Yeah. This summer was, or I guess it was last summer, it was kind of it was a fun fever dream for sure. It was a good time.
Yeah.
A lot of memorable moments to be had for sure. You know,
for sure.
It's just what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Good times though.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're a strong, competent dancer. You have confidence, but you're super humble, and I think those are super important qualities to have as a dancer. And I have no doubt that you're not gonna make it, or no doubt in my mind.
I get what you're trying to say. I get what you're trying to say.
I know you're gonna make it in this industry for sure.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And you look like you're doing crazy things out in Sacramento. You look like you're getting a bunch of opportunities.
Yeah, it's been
Have you told the people what you're doing? Have you told?
No, I have not.
What's the Joseph? We're about to flip the table. What's the Joseph Dang life right now? What's going on? What's going on in your life? What's the future plans?
You know what? For now, I'm just gonna keep that under wraps, because
you go for it. You go for it.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyways, Nick, thank you so much for being on the show. I absolutely enjoyed having you on today.
I had a good time. Good laughs.
Yeah. All right. Well, that about wraps up the episode. Thank you, everyone, for watching episode 6 of What the Heck Do I Dance For?
What do I dance for?